There once was a young boy who worked for a band of cowboys in a vast desert in New Mexico. He was a small boy, thin, and not very good at fighting, but he was great with horses, and so the cowboys made him their horse boy. One morning, the little boy decided to start his chores a little early. He knew it was going to be a hot day, and so he hoped that he could water the horses before the terrible noonday heat came. As he walked about the horses, he tried to decide which horses he would bring to the water first. There were tall and strong black stallions with beautiful long manes and fiery fighting eyes. There were quiet, fat horses, still half asleep with their eyes all glazed over. And there were also dull, modest-looking horses with gentle eyes, but nothing fancy about them. Due to their great strength and proud look, the boy decided to water the black stallions first. The stallions did not like being ordered around by such a simple little boy. They gave him a great deal of trouble. Showing their stubbornness of heart, they refused to drink the water when they arrived at the river. The old saying is true. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. The boy waited for a long time, but the horses still refused to drink. They just stared at the little boy with disgust. The boy realized that his time was limited. He could not wait all day because he needed to bring the other horses along as well. So, frustrated, the boy gave up on the proud stallions and led them back to the camp without them drinking any water. The boy then decided to bring the quiet, fat horses next. Still a little groggy from sleeping through the morning, these horses slowly and reluctantly followed the boy out to the river. Once they arrived, the toil from their walk aggravated them, so they just laid by the river to finish their nap before drinking. Frustrated again, the boy yelled and screamed at them. He splashed their faces and did everything he could to try and get them to drink the water, but they simply ignored him. After a time, the boy knew he needed to move on with his chores, so he led the lazy and reluctant horses back to the camp, despite their refusal to drink any water. Finally, the boy gathered the last group of dull-looking horses. They were not fast, but they moved along as best they could. They made it to the river, drank till their bellies were full, and promptly followed the boy back to the camp with little fuss. Relieved to have his chores finished before noon, the boy laid below the shade of one of the trees in the camp and took a nap. Suddenly, a great shouting was heard throughout the camp. A gang of bandits was attacking. The boy woke from his nap as panic and confusion spread throughout the horses. Not sure what else to do, the boy releases the horses from their tethers so that they could escape. The tall black stallions, with their great strength and speed, immediately ran off from the camp and covered a great distance. After miles of running, they reached a safe distance from the bandits, but this came at a great cost. They were exhausted and desperately thirsty. Deep in the desert, they could not find the river, and slowly they died of thirst. When the boy released the tethers of the quiet, fat horses, they did not run away immediately. Sluggish from their long nap and thirsty from their lack of water, they were easy targets for the bandits. The bandits stole them and took them back to their own camp. They forced the horses to do hours of difficult work every day, and these horses spent the rest of their lives as workhorses. When the boy released the dull-looking, modest horses, they were unsure what to do. But they trusted the boy who had led them to the water, and so they gathered around him. He mounted one of them, and they all rode off. The boy led them to safety along the river, back to the town, where they received the food, water, and safety they so desperately needed. In our gospel today, Jesus tells us the parable of the king's wedding feast for his son. This good and generous king is overjoyed by the wedding of his son, and he wants others to share in his joy. He prepares all the best food and entertainment he can gather and openly invites many guests to come and join his family feast. But few of the invited guests accept the invitation. Like the proud, strong black stallions from our story, who refuse to drink the water at their feet, many invited guests ignore the king's invitation. They go their own way and never make it to the feast. Some invited guests violently reject the king's invitation and kill his servants. These ungrateful guests are like the lazy and fat horses from our story. They are unprepared when some of the king's men come to deliver the justice to the king, which costs them their lives. The last guests are like the simple horses, who are the humble people from the streets. They readily accept the king's invitation. They follow the boy, just like the horses that were dull and modest. They follow the boy, Jesus Christ, wherever he leads them. They humbly drink from the river at the appropriate time and obediently follow the boy back to the camp, avoiding the heat of the noonday sun. When bandits come to steal these horses away and enslave them, they know who to trust. They follow the boy to safety, just as we follow Christ to safety. The Lord is calling us to be the humble and obedient guests who accept his invitation, even if this means being led where we do not want to go and doing what we do not want to do. Our own pride and laziness places us at real risk of rejecting the Lord's invitation. The Lord is patient, but our lives do not last forever. So let us follow the Lord's guidance through this difficult year and leave behind the pride and stubbornness of heart from which we try to be our own Savior. Instead, let us trust in the Lord, who desperately wishes for us to join him in his great feast.